Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I'm here with Ben Calhoun from Dissent Off Road and his new Land Cruiser 250 series. Now, Ben's a pretty modest guy. He's not going to tell you that this is the baddest new Land Cruiser out there on the planet, but I'll say it for him. So Ben, what was your plan when you bought this?
So this one, we always wanted to do more of a hardcore rock crawler. So when it first came out, I saw the body style, saw the round headlights, and kind of envisioned it being built out for the harder stuff. So this was essentially what we had planned from the get-go. However, the original one we had was going to be blue, so we weren't going to go this crazy with the color, and we ended up with a black one, so we went ahead and kind of went all out with the retro vibe.
I love it. I mean, I used to have a Forest Service green Toyota pickup, so this is more minty than Forest Service green, but it's still close enough that it definitely hits home for me.
We tried to hit the old was it the Seafoam green, I think, or the old FJ40 color. So this was the closest vinyl we could get to match that.
Okay, yeah, I can see that for sure. And so you run Dissent Off Road. You guys make bumpers. You're most known, at least to me, for making bumpers for Land Cruisers, so it makes sense that you're all in on the new 250.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about your products that are on this vehicle?
Yeah, so we manufacture the bumpers, the skid plates, the roof rack, kind of everything armor related, and then specialize in the Land Cruiser. So we do a lot of different Toyotas, but mostly the Land Cruiser, so 60, 80, 100, 200, and now the new LC 250. Been building we've been in probably about 8 years now, going on 8 years. So we got a manufacturing facility in Colfax. We do everything in-house. Everything's made in America. We got laser forming, powder coating, some robotic welding cells. So we moved everything over here, and it's been fun.
That's awesome. And I definitely think, since the pandemic, right, it's sort of shown who imports stuff, and that was a huge issue, supply chain issues, you're bringing jobs home, you're gonna have better quality control, you're making it right here. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was kind of the push to get everything in-house. We couldn't get anything anywhere else, so had to build it ourselves.
Awesome. Yeah. And tell me a little bit about what it takes for a bumper to go from sort of concept to reality. What was the timeline like on this? Or what is involved in that?
Yeah, so this one we actually did in about 2 weeks. So we got the truck, we scanned it. So we got a 3D scanner, we scan everything in 3D. Then the truck actually went to LA for the wrap for a week.
Okay.
So during that week that it was gone, we designed everything in 3D. We actually built everything on this truck without the truck there. So got it welded up, powder coated, and then got the truck back, installed everything, and then took it to Overland Expo PNW. So typically for production items, this is all custom. We like to spend a little more time with that. We'll have a few different revisions, but that's kind of the same process. We'll scan everything, do it in 3D, and then prototype, test it, beat it up, and then put it into production.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And to walk things back a little bit, how did you get started in off-roading?
Shoot, I've been doing it all my life. My first truck was a 79 Toyota four-wheel drive pickup. I was 13 when we built that. So had many of those, many of first-gen 4Runners. Didn't get into the Land Cruisers or the newer Land Cruisers till about when I started Dissent Off Road. So just been coming up here. I live an hour away from here, so we came up here all the time. As a kid, my dad would let me drive his Jeep through here when we were 8, 9 years old. So.
But you didn't take the Jeeps, you took the Toyotas.
I took the Toyotas, yeah. His Jeep was always breaking.
Well, and I bet you wish you probably had those first-gen pickups, first-gen 4Runners. You could retire now if you had all those things still.
I sold many I wish I would have held on to for not very much either.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat with you there.
Yeah.
And now, how did Dissent come about?
So, actually, I was doing stuff on the side for my friends and family and stuff, and my buddy bought a 100 Series Land Cruiser. I think I was in a first-gen Tacoma at that point. I test drove that, kind of fell in love with that platform, sold the Tacoma, picked up 100, just built all my own stuff and started posting on forums, and people started asking. And so 100 Series where Dissent Off Road started. Okay. And shoot, I think when started taking a list, figuring, if people want to order it, let's get a list going. I thought I'd get maybe 5, enough to cover a new tubing bender or something. And I think we had like 60 people on that list for the first batch. So
holy cow!
Slowly doing more and more, and had to decide to either go for it or quit the day job. And quit the day job and went for it.
The rest is history, right?
Yeah.
As they say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, and I think I know you have a really bitchin' 100 series. We'll have to do a video in the future on it for sure. I think that that's sort of, at least in the past, was an unsupported platform relative to, 80 series or older Land Cruisers. And I think you guys help popularize hundreds now. I feel like the 100 is kind of the sweet spot in terms of capability. They're not crazy expensive.
Right.
And now I see people building them, some really sweet ones.
Yeah, and the 80, the prices have gone. 80 is still a great rig. I got one, I love it, but the prices are so crazy right now. So you can get a decent 100 or LX 470 in the $8,000, $7,000 range. So we'll be building one of those out for some of the harder stuff too. Everyone knows they can do the overland stuff, so we're gonna see what it can do out places like this.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that 80 series are great, but even the newest one is almost 30 years old now, right? And so they're just, people are like, oh, I found this super clean Land Cruiser that only has 200,000 miles on it.
Right.
It's like,
and you still pay 40 grand.
Right, yeah, it's pretty wild. So now Toyota, each iteration of the Land Cruiser, we talk about these different series, and they've kind of gotten bigger, more luxurious, more expensive. And then Toyota, I feel like, kind of flipped the script with the 250, right? They sort of they said, hey, we're gonna make a vehicle that is maybe more true to the Land Cruiser roots. It's not quite as big, it's not quite as expensive, but super capable right out of the box, right?
It is, yeah. It's definitely a controversial. Every new Land Cruiser model is. The Land Cruiser, the hardcore Land Cruiser guys hate the new model. They hated the 80, they hated the 100, they hated the 200. They hate this now too.
Right.
But no, I bought it with the intent building this out this way, but I did not think it was going to perform the way it does. It's got a 4-cylinder turbo hybrid, which everyone is hemming and hawing about. But so far, the performance, reliability, only time will tell. But performance-wise, hybrid is great. It crawls great. The power, it outperforms any previous US-based Land Cruiser. And it works good. So technically this is the Prado over elsewhere. It's got the smaller diffs than what you would typically see in the previous generation Land Cruisers, but they're only small if they break, right?
That's right. Now, you're running 40-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers on this rig. This video is actually brought to you by Nitto, so if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to the Driving Line channel. And you mentioned small diffs, but you're running a 40-inch tall tire, so what have you done to this vehicle? I guess A, to make them fit, and B, to make the drivetrain live with 40s.
Right, so yeah, one, the wheel wells are huge, so I had to do very little actually to make them fit in these wheel wells. Shoot, I had 38s on it with a 3-inch lift, and I hadn't even pounded the pinch weld yet.
Wow.
So once we wanted to go to the 40s, we went with some 74 weld portals. That brought it up, the diffs, everything up another 4 inches, and fit the 40s like nothing. It's sitting a little taller than I would like right now, so we'll probably lower it down. It's on Icon suspension currently. But yeah, I didn't have to do much. I cut the flare out, I cut the bot kit cap mount. Basically what you would have to do to fit 35s
on a Tacoma
on a Tacoma. Yeah.
Okay.
Almost less actually.
Wow.
So the 74 weld portals were a huge reason I wanted those is because we have the smaller diffs. So with the 22% reduction, we're essentially from the hub in, from the portal in, it thinks we're on 33. So we take a ton of strain off the drivetrain, off the axles, off the drive shafts, the engine, transmission. I also get that gear reduction on the highway. So I did not have to re-gear the diffs, so I can keep the bigger pinion. So it's been working great so far. Steering still knows we're on 40s, so I'll have to potentially figure out something on that, but I think the drivetrain is going to hold up quite well.
Awesome. And now how many miles do you have on this vehicle now?
I've got about 5,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you've been out to Colorado with it, you've taken it through the Rubicon. Yeah. How's it work on the trail? And that was before the portals, right?
Rubicon was before the portals. Yeah, we'll be going back and doing another run here this week actually with the portals. Actually, it surprised me. I did not think we'd make it all the way through as easily as we did. We were with a group of very well-built 80s and some other crawlers, and it did great. The only obstacle I really didn't make was soot bolt. It struggled on that. The diff, there's no locker in the front currently, so it does have the factory rear locker.
Okay.
But yeah, couldn't quite get up soot bowl, so we're gonna go back with the portals and the 40s and redeem ourselves, I think, this time.
Nice.
But yeah, even on road, I mean, we drove up here as it sits now, 70 miles an hour, coming up from the valley up the mountains, and it handles it great.
That's awesome.
Gets about 14 miles a gallon doing so not bad for a Toyota on 40s.
No, I mean, I don't think I own anything that gets better mileage than that, so it's pretty darn good. Now, tell me a little bit about the packaging with the portals. Those wheels are from 1552, is that right?
1552, yeah. So we sent those off. Again, obviously we're going for the retro look.
Yeah.
So these wheels fit perfect. They kind of mimic the old Steelies. So we worked with 1552. We sent them to OMF Performance down in SoCal, and they converted them to a true bead lock. They're sitting at a plus 25 offset.
Okay.
So that helps. I mean, the tires obviously do stick out a bit, but that helps bring them in so it's not too crazy wide. And yeah, they packaged in there nicely. Like I said, nothing, I've got zero rubbing right now on anything.
Okay. And the portals could add width too, right? So that plus 25 offset pulls things back in, probably helps with scrub radius.
So unfortunately the new platform, even from the factory, I think they use like a plus 70.
Wow.
So it's a very wide platform to start with. So I thought that was going to be a bit more tricky, but on the plus side, the unit bearing is very large. So Quinn over at 74 Weld, they were able to keep that package a lot tighter than previous models. Okay. So it's only 2.77 inches of width per side versus I think like almost 3.5 or so on the Tacoma or the other ones.
Right.
So that helped tremendously. So that paired with the inset wheel kept them at a manageable place.
Sure. And I find, you know, I know you're using this for hardcore rock crawling. I find you don't want the tires too much under the vehicle in those situations because you start to lean into stuff, and having that tire sticking out of the body a little bit seems to protect.
It does help, yeah, for sure. Yeah, even though it's a rock crawler, we still try to keep it clean as we can.
Well, 5,500 miles on it. I mean, you've got
right.
You don't want your first dent before your first oil change.
Right. Yeah, we had some close calls on Rubicon. Had it kind of on its side in Soup Bowl and managed to just scrape the vinyl a little bit. So
okay, nice. Those sliders are doing their job, huh?
Yes, they have taken a beating. We've hit those very hard when we're going through Rubicon.
And other modifications on here? It sounds like the drivetrain is pretty much stock, but I see like lights or accessories, other things you've added?
Yeah. So we run all rigid lights all the way around. So we got those bumper, roof rack underneath. I got some Pelican cases up top, so that holds all my recovery gear on one side, and then spare parts, CVs, spare parts that I can get on the other side. Agency 6, they're a cool local company to us. They make like the grab handles and the winch shackles. So we've been working with them for a while. And then in the back, we've got a full drawer system from Air Down Gear Up and a drawer fridge from Dometic, and a sleeper platform. So I can actually fold the seats down and sleep in the back there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Still an overlander, even though it's a rock crawler.
Yeah, keeping it as light as possible. Would have to keep some of those amenities, especially the fridge.
For sure, yeah. Now, you mentioned parts availability with regards to spares, and you also mentioned that you don't have a front locker in this. So some of the drawbacks of being an early adopter to a platform rider, some of these things aren't quite on the market yet. So what have you found are the limitations here?
Yeah, so the nice thing is this being a more mass-produced vehicle than the previous Land Cruisers is a lot of the aftermarket is eager to jump on board. So when we picked this up early, it made it easy for us to work with companies and help them too. We like the drawers in the back. Air Down Gear Up hadn't had access to one yet, so we 3D scanned everything. We sent that. So we help a lot of the companies, like the Icon stuff. We ran all their prototypes. We got them dimensions. We give them feedback on the valving. Awesome. So we're able to work with those companies and help bring not just our product, but other product to the market. So, and like 74 Well, this is the second set of these on the Land Cruiser. So he installed one at his shop and then sent this one to us. So we kind of helped with that, giving feedback, helping with some of the bracketry and routing of the brake lines and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Quinn started doing those feature Fridays, and I think the last one was on a tan 250 series. So that must have been the one other one.
Yeah, that's the only other one so far. So hopefully many more will jump on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So on my Jeep, I've got SDI suspension, and they have like an active shock that controls shock damping, compression, and you've got the Icon equivalent on here, right?
Correct, yeah. So this is the CDEVs, got to look and make sure I'm saying that right. So yeah, it's got the computer that mounts under the hood, the app on the phone. It will automatically adjust to the terrain, but you can also set it up manually. And this is my first time out on it. We just swapped it over yesterday, and it is smooth. These rocks feel a lot smaller than the previous trips out here, so I've been very impressed so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, you have a modern vehicle. It makes sense to have a modern suspension that lives up to the amenities of the vehicle. Yeah, I think it's compression, damping, electronic valving, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it does. It works great. I think in the past you always kind of sacrificed if you softened it up. It was soft, you know, you hit those dips and it was a little bouncy.
Sure.
So
or you're on the road and you get a lot of sway.
And it also has like a cornering setting too, where you can set the stiffness for cornering. So I don't have any sway bar on the front. But one thing nice about this platform is actually the travel we get out of the front. So I did swap out Tacoma CVs. For some reason, the 24 Tacoma comes with a stronger, higher angle CV, which is weird. No one really knows why. But I swapped that out, and we got close to 12 inches of wheel travel out of the front.
I mean, those are Raptor numbers.
Yeah, and so we're nearing long 10. All we had was stock lowers, and then Icon uppers, and then their extended travel shock. And it's been great. I mean, hardly lifting a tire. Sometimes forget it's IFS.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, getting rid of the sway bar, was that a conscious choice in order to get more wheel travel, or was that a function of packaging with the portals or with the suspension?
No, you could run it with how it's currently set, but yeah, just more travel, better ride. It's the factory sway bar is like that big around, so it's stiff. It doesn't move very well.
Sure.
So we might do something, but honestly, with the new suspension, it drives the corners pretty well on the road. Much better than my 80 with no sway bars.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Still running the rear, but it's pretty dinky. I don't think it's doing much.
So the skid plates on this you make, right? Are they aluminum? Are they steel? How do you guys do that?
Yes, so these ones are aluminum, but we reinforce them. We got a lot of gusseting inside. One thing we like to do is a lot of skid plates you see, they're kind of bulky, big, chunky. They cover everything, cover your cam bolts, part of your A-arms, everything. So on this, we wanted to just cover the important stuff. So we tuck them really tight. We step them up. I'm not a fan of the flat belly. We do a lot of snow wheeling, and that tends to be a problem. Is once you sink it, I don't want my whole truck in the snow or the mud. So we step and we follow as high and tight as possible on those skids, and we don't cover anything that we don't need to. I see a lot of people running A-arm skids and things like that. I've never, or even diff skids, I've never had a need for those. So try to keep as much clearance as possible, but protect the crucial components.
Yeah, I think that approach makes a lot of sense. I've never seen a broken lower A-arm. I mean, if you scrape one up, it seems to be a pretty strong component.
Yeah, it's always been funny to see a heavy-duty steel part protected with a thin layer of aluminum.
Right, yeah. And do you offer these, are they only in aluminum? Can you get them in steel, or is that?
We'll do more steel items as we do more rock crawl stuff. So this is really just kind of an experiment, honestly. I don't know how many people are going to build these out this way.
Sure.
Our whole point was, let's see if it works. Maybe we create a market there. If it breaks, if it's constantly breaking, then it's probably not going to be used for this. But so far, we've been impressed. We've got quite a few people wanting to line up and do something similar. So that's something a lot of people don't know about us, is not only manufacturing, we do the full builds too. So we could take a brand new vehicle like this and customize it. Like these bumpers are not a production item. The ones we're working on now are very different. This required a lot of modification, a lot of cutting. We took 90% of that front end off of the body here. The rear, we've chopped the whole frame out to raise that bumper up. So that's something we can do in-house as well as those full builds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's something, you mentioned whenever a new, it's sort of a rite of passage, right? A new Land Cruiser comes out, and whatever someone owns, that is the last real Land Cruiser. It doesn't matter if it's a 40 series or a 100 series, whatever that guy owns, he's like, this is the last true one. Anything newer is junk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then people will tend to kind of watch it and see how they do. So what we're trying to do with this is maybe warm people up to it a little sooner. Once they see it out here being used, being beat, hopefully not breaking, they'll want to buy them and build them out this way.
Sure. Yeah, and I find, a lot of times it seems like with whether it was 80 series, 100 series, 200 series, it seems like when the second owner or the third owner gets their hands on it, then they're inclined to be like, oh, I'll cut the frame. Oh, I want this ground clearance. I bought this as a with the intent of making it an off-road vehicle.
Right.
And, you know, hopefully being a more affordable platform than a, you know, 200
Right.
series. I was seeing those go for over 100 grand used, you know.
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's pretty wild to see the prices of those. So when you can start with something, you still got some money in the bank, it fits a lot better on the trail, and
Yeah, it's definitely
why not
worth
use it?
noting. I think, yeah, the 200, I mean, MSRP was 84 to 86, but they were typically going, like you said, well over that, to where this you can get, now I see them selling under MSRP. So then this is the 1958, so the base model, cloth seats, and they go for like 54 to 58. So
Okay.
still a lot of money, but
It's all relative,
yeah.
right?
And I think we're going to see a lot more of the Tacoma, the 4Runner guys maybe jumping up to the Land Cruiser, because this is not that much more than a loaded 5th gen 4Runner. So
No.
I think we'll see. I've already seen it, the forums, the Facebook pages. It seems to be pretty popular and growing in popularity pretty quickly, especially as we see it proving itself.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and hopefully some folks watching at home are getting some ideas for their own Land Cruiser.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. We want to start building more of these. Got to put the miles and beat them up first.
Yeah, for sure. Find out what the weak links are. I mean,
Yep.
like you said, it's new. I feel like with Toyotas, I have less a concern about long-term reliability than I do with other makes and models.
Right, and that's a big concern on this one, is being that it's got the hybrid, it's got
Sure.
the turbo, it's the 4-cylinder. Is long-term reliabilities, but
Sure.
hybrids are nothing new to Toyota.
Right.
They've been doing it a long time, so I got some faith in the brand, but time will tell what happens. But again, so far everyone, all the doubters, it makes it hard to doubt. I've had a lot of people come up and that are considering buying one now after seeing what it's been doing for us. And previous Prados were, I mean, while this has the smaller diffs, the suspension, the steering, everything is beefy. It is the same stuff that you see on the 300 series Land Cruiser. So the A-arms,
Okay.
the chassis, the steering components, slightly different, but a far more stronger than previous model Prados, like the GX and the 4Runners. So I think we've got a pretty good platform here for the harder stuff. Again, the 4-cylinder I thought was going to be terrible once we put 35s on even, but we went 35s, we went 38s, now we're on 40s, and it still pulls better than my 200 on 35s
Wow.
with the 5.7.
That's saying something.
Yeah, so it's been pretty impressive so far.
What do you think? Does the new Land Cruiser 250 series live up to the name of the Land Cruiser, or is it just an overpriced 4Runner? Comment below and let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching this Hairy Situations video on the Driving Line channel. Driving Line has all sorts of great content creators, and they're dropping new content almost daily. You're definitely going to want to subscribe so you don't miss any of it in the future. And we'll see you out on the trail.